I think obviously with the last game of the preseason, a good opportunity to get challenged by a well-coached team that was able to, I think, do a few different things. So good learning lessons for us. Was able to get some guys good minutes, but at the same time make sure that we're keeping our eye on the 22nd to make sure that everybody's fresh and ready to be flying that day.
Ben, we'll start with you, and as a reminder, everyone can alert me if they have questions using the hand raise function.
Yeah, BJ, I just kind of want to ask now that I guess preseason is officially over. What's your kind of overview of how the preseason went, and how ready do you feel like the squad is for the season in just 7 days?
Yeah, I think so. We looked at this right now, kind of last night as we were going into the last game, about what's our ideas, what's our attitude, what's our structure, and then the details. And I think through the preseason, we've been able to see the guys have a really great attitude overall about how we've approached everything throughout the preseason. The ideas, I think, are getting there. We have very good ideas. I think we're very clear. Everybody understands what we want to do. The structure is still a continuing process, making sure not so much that we don't know. I would say more about just being consistent with it. When you see it well, it's working well, but I think we can be more consistent. And then the details, it's going to be a process. It's going to be a long process, and I think that also we see details come as the final part when you start to really be able to build relationships, and it's been a little bit of in and out with different partnerships. So as we continue through the first couple weeks of the season and get those partnerships solidified, I think we'll get closer to being satisfied in that area.
Ben, if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick personnel question. I know you talked a little bit about load management after, I think, Wednesday's game, but it didn't look like Patrick or Hani played today. And then I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think Gaston has played since the first match. Is that load management, or are there injury concerns with those, and do you expect them to be available early in the season?
Yeah, so I would say Gaston right now is we're trying to get a good timeline on him. He's probably the furthest away in terms of with an injury. Patrick and Hani are, I think, more in the let's see how we get through the week. It was very conservative. Brian Acosta, again, not starting and not playing was us trying to be extremely safe, I guess is the best way I could describe it, with a lot of those decisions. And even the guys playing 45 minutes today, they could have a lot of those guys could have played longer. But again, I think we're wanting to put our best foot forward for the opening night at Geodis. We felt like it was a good decision to stay as conservative as possible.
Valera, go ahead.
Hey, BJ, now that you've seen a good amount of the team, you have New England coming up in a week. Do you feel like you have your starting 11 figured out?
No. So I think, a lot of that's going to be built on Ben's last question as to what players are available, how many minutes they're going to be available. But what we have taken away from this preseason is a lot of our depth has gotten some opportunities. So you see a player like Matt Corcoran has been able to play a lot of minutes. Taylor Washington, Dan Lovitz have been splitting time. You've seen Jason Palacios, Jack Mayer, and Walker Zimmerman getting good minutes. Chris Applewhite getting good minutes. Josh Bauer, Andy Nahar. So what we felt really fortunate about in this preseason is the depth has gotten a lot of repetition. And so, as we look forward, not only to New England, but let's say the first 6 or 8 weeks, as we kind of still build everybody up, it's I think we have a great confidence in the whole group for again, for the first, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks.
Valera, if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
And speaking of that depth, one guy that has gotten a good amount of minutes here in preseason and scored a couple goals, Adam Sipic. What have you seen of him so far, and do you feel like he can push into that first team this season?
Yeah, he certainly has the opportunity to push in for the first team. We've seen great development, I would say, on his tactical side, especially him working defensively. Understanding how to press as a group and how to press as forwards, but connected with center midfielders connected. We still have work to develop him with the ball side. You're right, he's scoring goals, I think that's been one of his greatest strengths inside the penalty box. And now it's just having him become more of a complete threat when we have the ball.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, BJ, you mentioned about Gaston Brugman being probably the furthest out from all the guys that are not out there playing. You also mentioned about midfield and depth and so forth. Going into match day one, I guess, what is your concern level if depth does become an issue going forward? Like if your team doesn't get off to a hot start in week 1, 2, and 3, match day 1, 2, and 3, how important is that with the depth if it's not there?
I mean, I think we don't look at week 2 and 3. We first believe that, we're a group that's got to turn every single page. So it's day by day, putting together the best team, the best partnerships. But throughout this preseason, the way that we've performed, I think we've seen a lot of players step up, a lot of players gain great experience. And, I don't think there's we want to be a club that plays young players. And so for us, whether it's Johnny Perez, Adem Sipic, Isaiah Jones, Matt Corcoran, we have a great amount of confidence in them, and they should have a great amount of confidence in themselves because the things that we're asking them to do, they're doing.
And I have a follow-up, BJ. Having a full offseason with this club and having new additions and young players being involved in the squad, I guess you talked about in preseason going through phases. And my question is, as a coach, when you go through phases, it's trying to find a balance with young players and veteran players. How's that been like for you throughout this preseason going into match day 1?
Yeah, I think in the offseason we tried to be really strategic, I would say, in 2 levels. 1, to replenish this roster, and 2, to reposition it. And when we talk about repositioning, it's about finding profiles that fit the style of play that we want to play. And that's how we look at the players, is through the qualities that they have, not their age, not their experience, but what are the qualities that they have, and how do we create the partnerships so that they're matching each other, and then 2, how do we put the best sort of most well-balanced team together. So I don't think we're not a team we're going to be a brave team, we're going to be a brave club that young players and old players have the same opportunity. It's going to be about the players that are performing.
Jacob, go ahead.
BJ, Alex Muyl had you guys' goal today in the first half. It looks like, I guess, going into the season, where do you see his ideal fit in this lineup right now?
Yeah, I see. He's worked tremendously on his game, and I think he's been a player now that has shown that he can play on the outside as a winger, or he can play as a winger and move on to the inside. And his ability to play in between the lines, run at the back line, arrive in the penalty box. I think you saw glimpses of it towards the end of the season. I think he had a record high or a career high in goals last year with maybe 4 or 5 of them. I'm sure you guys will fact check me on that. Towards the end of the season. And it's just what we expect from him again, is to play sort of coming off either wing, left or right, try to find him in the pockets. And then without the ball, his superpower is his relentless running and his relentless pressing. And that gives our whole team energy and confidence.
Jacob, if you have a follow-up, go ahead.
Yeah, and one more, and I guess you mentioned Matthew Corcoran a little bit earlier in this preseason as well, but with Gaston and out for a little bit, and you said you're being a little bit conservative with Patrick and Brian in midfield. Does that open any maybe opportunity for him earlier this season? I guess, what have you liked from him so far this preseason?
Yeah, Matthew's a player, is a player that wants to be on the ball. He shows up to get on the ball. A player that has the ability to face forward, break lines, and sort of progress our attack. So I think he's done a really good job adapting to this level in a quick period of time. And like I've said, if his number's called, we have all the confidence in the world in him because he's earned that confidence over the last 4 or 5 weeks that he's been with us.
Claudio, it looks like maybe you had your hand up. Just checking that you're all good.
Yes, BJ. I think it's unfair to ask you this, but I'm just gonna do it anyways. When you compare what you've done so far this preseason, where the few games that you had a chance to coach this team at the end of the season last year, how confident do you feel that your message have gotten deeper into these guys?
I think it's the way I started we talk about attitude and we talk about ideas. And we had, I think both those areas we've excelled in this preseason. The team has come in, guys that remained from last year and the new players bonded together with with a great attitude and approaching the daily work, taking in the messages and information. And now the ideas that they've been given, you can see them applying them on the field. And for us, it's a good foundation. We know it's just the start to a long 10-month season, and we're just starting. But we feel, as a whole collective group, we feel like we have each other's back. We're committed to what we're doing, and we're gonna, we look forward to competing.
Claudio, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, even with I think this question is already asked 3 or 4 times already in this same conference. But even with the guys that you might or might not have for the opening game, how confident do you feel about the 11 you're going to put on the field? To look for that and get the first victory at home.
Yeah, that's the objective, is to put the best 11 we can, and we feel confident that the 11 players that we start and the 20-man roster that we name are all going to collectively be able to put a really good performance in on Saturday night versus New England. And what's a great opportunity is they've all had good opportunities in the preseason, regardless of who gets the nod in the 11, who gets the nod in the 20. So everybody's feeling, we all feel pretty confident to put a good performance in.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your